obviously not. So I thought we'd start off, guys. I want to do a little bit of reflection over the course of some of this morning's session. And as I said, I kind of want to get more from you. I know that we're talking about the inside out, but I want something from you. I want to know what's been going on for you, what you've seen, what still doesn't make sense. I really want to be here for you individually and collectively today. So we're going to work on, kind of percolating some of the things that we've spoken about. I've got a couple of maybe exercises. There's some other things I'd like to do, but really what I want you to do is I want you to maximise your opportunity that I'm here for you today. So if you've got a question, if we've discussed something, if I've spoken about something that is so alien to you, if there's something that you'd like to know a little bit clearer, if there's something that you're interested in, you think, I really think that could help me with my trading a little bit more, this morning's the opportunity, guys. I'm sure that I'm going to work with you guys as a group again or individually, but just on the off chance that that doesn't happen, I want you to use me today for your benefits. So, what's been happening in the last week? What's been happening for you guys? What's come up into your mind, What's popped up? What realizations have you had? What new thoughts? What's made sense? What hasn't made sense? Yes, Miles.
I don't know. We've had a bit of a transition, so we're now having to do like trading plans every morning.
You're having to do, or you're asked to do?
No, well, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Just like setting ourselves scenarios, what we think is going to happen. Just getting before we were just going to the market and really clicking buttons, and now we're trying to, before we start trading, to have a plan of such. And then, but there's another case where you come at the end of the day, you look back at it, well, I haven't done any of those things. Anyway, that's the.
Is that quite a common point for you guys? Yeah. I mean, this is such an important time for you guys to really see the importance of what we're talking about as the state of mind and the performance behind trading, and how the mind plays the absolute key role in this. And I don't know if you're starting to see this from when we first started speaking, how relevant this is. Thanks, Miles. Can I ask you some questions around that?
Yeah.
And anyone else who sort of was nodding their heads with Miles who was asking this question or pointing it out. Does focusing on the plan and, right, well, this is my plan or this is what I need to do, and I mean, let me just give you an example. I've spoken to many traders, and I used to do it myself, but where all of a sudden they would come in with a bullish bias, for example. I'm just going to look for opportunities to buy it today. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but what happens with that?
Get stuck. You get married to a trade.
Get married to a trade, you get stuck? Anyone else?
Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. Can you tell me what you mean?
So anything which you think will convince you of what you've already preconceived, will you
Brilliant.
automatically
Yeah.
associate yourself to that straight away.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't work your plan.
You don't work your plan because you haven't got a plan. But also, the market does go two ways. And again, it's just how our mind can trick us and then restrict us. And it's only just recognising that interesting. I'm not saying that you shouldn't then have that leaning towards it or look for opportunities in that direction. But as soon as we start drawing a line in the sand, well, that's how I'm going to trade today, we're kind of restricting ourselves. And so again, it's just being aware and just kind of catching yourself and remembering the role of thought and what we've been discussing so far. Thank you. Anybody else? What else have you been seeing in how things have changed with you guys, or the challenges that you now face?
Definitely found myself getting far less attached to my P&L. I might be going a little bit offside or onside, but whereas at the start of the course, I'd be trading off that and going, oh, I don't really want to lose that, so I'd cut my size down or something like that. I'll still stick with the trade idea, maybe not cutting profits, like rather than taking 2 ticks, I'll run it for 10 ticks, 15 ticks, just far less influenced by how much profit I'm making and far more by the actual trade idea. So look at it with a more objective view.
Thanks, Jake. Has anyone else seen that? Has anyone else had the opposite of that? Well, Jake, why do you think that is? Why do you think that all of a sudden the P&L still goes up and down as it did when you first joined and when you first started, but the attachment isn't so like that? What do you make of that?
I guess I'd say that it's because you realise that it's the actual trade idea that will affect that, not watching that all the time. So you just have to make a conscious effort to know that if you implement the right trade idea, then it will change as a result of that. The trade idea won't change as a result of your P&L.
Yeah.
So just to work off of what you know will work rather than trying to change something that's almost out of your control.
Yeah, that's great. And can I say, or may I ask you a question? Did you come in every day thinking to yourself, right, I can't be P&L focused, I've got to really think clearly about this and I've got to really not even look at it? Or did it kind of just happen naturally?
At the start, it was quite a hard transition from looking at that, and then I realised I was doing that. So for the first 2-3 days, it was a conscious effort to actually continuously minimise my P&L so that I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And every so often look rather than having it on the screen constantly.
Perfect.
And then after that, it's just become a lot more natural and a lot easier going.
Now, would everyone agree that what's happened, if we can just sort of break this down, what's happened is that Jake was very influenced by his P&L, each tick, and then sort of a little bit concerned and a bit excited and a little bit worried and then happy. And so constantly, what I was talking about last time, the volatility of the market going up and down and the P&L subsequently moving in line. And when I was talking last week, which I can understand, and I said to you at the beginning of our talks, some of this is going to get a little bit itchy for you, some of the things I talk about, because it's going to be new to you. And I spoke last week about having that success was built into the design. And I can understand that gets a little bit itchy for people because it did do for me. But that's an example of what I'm talking about, is that when your mind kind of calmed down, the word that you said was, I realised, and that's what I'm talking about. Realisation, it's new thought. It's seeing beyond what the restriction was. Oh no, P&L, I've got to make money, this is, oh no, it's going against me. And all of a sudden we're kind of seeing beyond that, and it wasn't right, I need to ignore my P&L today. Today I'm going to ignore my P&L. Can you see how we then try and think positively, or we try to ignore it or get out the way of it or remove it? When we kind of just point in this direction, it happens automatically. That's what we're talking about. It's just built in. And it's kind of tough to look in that direction, I understand, but the more you do, the more you'll see that's what's been going on all your life. And what happens is, without you trying to, you fall out of your own way. And as I said last week, I think, guys, the only thing that's ever held me back is me. The only thing that's ever got in my own way was me. It didn't seem like that, and I certainly didn't want to admit to that. But it was always me. It was always my insecure thinking that's held me back. So when we kind of have that realisation, and it's like, oh, that realisation was always inside of you. No one gave it to you. It was already within you. And that's just what we're pointing to. You know, I said last week, life works one way from the inside out, and there is a design for success that's built into the system. And the more you understand those 2 points, the more you realise those 2 points, the more you will perform at a higher level, the more you'll swim with the tide as opposed against it, the richer experience you'll have of life, etc., etc., etc. There's nothing that we need to do. It's already built in. That's kind of what I'm really alluding to. And when I saw that, that was such a relief because it took out the hard work I was trying to do to be better. I was always trying to be better. And it just came as such a relief that when I didn't try as much, I kind of just did better. Thank you. Anyone else? Who's next? And if anyone's online that would like to ask any questions, I'm going to do my best to keep an eye out and answer that as well. Yes, sir.
I'm basically confused, how to begin my day. I've seen that I don't have any problems, of flipping.
Can we just turn that air conditioning off just for a moment? It's just a little bit loud. Yes, sir.
So what I realized is that I don't have any problem in making any kind of trade decisions, but the thing is, I can't find that confidence, that logic in how to plan the beginning of my day, structure my entire planning day. Yes, I can look at levels, Fibonacci or whatever the technical indicators are. The thing is, to structurally plan out a day and trade accordingly just seems impossible for me.
Yeah.
It feels like, it's so much confusion, and I keep on, after some time I just start, really looking, just buying and selling, and then in the middle of the day I get a little bit, there's like, nothing went as per plan, but in the first place, actually, I don't even have the confidence making a plan. I don't feel the logic in making a plan. I know you need to have a plan, have a strategy, but how do I do it? Is where my confusion lies.
Yeah. Can anyone relate to that?
Yes, I can.
Thanks, Mark. Can you tell me? Thank you, that's great. And what I'm going to do is just build on that. But what you've said is kind of crucial to where I want to go today. Mark.
There's an expectation that is very well put over by John in the books. That you'll do a plan, you walk in, and in the first 5 minutes you've done your plan. I spent years in engineering, and the one thing you have every morning is you have a to-do list. And half the time your to-do list was half of what you had the day before and half of what you had the day before that. And the critical thing was, yes, look at what you did yesterday and what you haven't covered, put that into your plan for today. But the second one is take your time to do the plan. Don't try and do it in the first 5 minutes. It might take an hour to mature. That doesn't matter, because you mature it, you go through in your mind, you wake your mind up, this is what I need to do, that's what I'm aiming for as a target. It may be an unrealistic target, you might have 8 items on there, and end up only doing 5, but they are your targets for the day. That I tend to find works. I do that now with John's bit. I only just send my plan in, half given it. I didn't do it at 7. I knew roughly what I wanted to do for the day. I then worked out more details of it, put it down in the plan, and sent it to John. And I found that over the years, because I'm doing these things for about 15 years now, doing a daily plan, works better than just trying to rush it. You can have one the night before if you specifically know what you're going to do next day. But most of the time it's, you sit there and go, look at me, I missed 5 things yesterday, I've got to get them today, they're critical for today. And the things that you might want to do today get pushed to tomorrow. There are criticalities for the day that need to be done.
Yeah.
And that's what I plan for each.
Yeah. Wow, and that's great. And I think that's what we're pointing towards is finding out what works. And this is what I want to try and see if we can uncover for you, finding out what really works for you. But what's interesting is I'm kind of guessing, and please play along with me in my ignorance here, but with engineering there's quite a lot of structure.
Not as much as you'd like to think.
Okay, just in my mind, but again, with trading it changes so quickly.
It's the same engineering. There's a lot of reaction engineering.
Okay.
Especially if you're in a production. You don't. If somebody comes along and says, "We've got a problem. We need to get those wires in now."
Brilliant.
You just
So
have to
you've
drop
got a
it.
plan, but you're kind of flexible in your plan?
You've got to be flexible in your plan. Yeah.
Did everyone kind of take that on board? Because that's what I was alluding to. And it kind of makes sense for Mark. Again, I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just saying that there is something within you, this extraordinary force of understanding that will direct you to where you need to go. As soon as we start orienting ourselves in that direction, which is seeing how we get in our own way. And as soon as we stop getting in our own way, what you will find is that there is a space there. There is a space within you that just knows what to do. Bang, I've got to get out of this, or I need to up my size. I need to close. You know, it's not going in right today. I'm going to increase my size by this. You know, there's so many crazy things that I read about in books, which is, you know, in trading books, you know, when you have X amount of winning days, you increase your size by this, or when you don't, and it's so structured and so restrictive, and this is what you need to do, and this is what you don't need to do. I'm pointing to the opposite. Can you see if you try to remember all of that in your trading? You know, we said about the having the clouds in front of the sun, and the only thing that prevents you from experiencing the sun ever is going to be the cloud. Well, can you imagine how thick the cloud is if all of a sudden we're trying to remember, well, what I need to do, and should I increase my size, and what I should be trading and what I shouldn't. It's kind of just getting in our own way again, and it's preventing, you know, what Michael Neal said in the video that we watched, you know, the halo that he had, this wisdom, and he drew this thinking. And I was saying that thoughts this extraordinary gift. But it's the fact that we don't understand the illusory nature or the power of thought, for one. And it's secondly that we overthink. And then we start to think about our thinking. And I shouldn't be thinking this, I should be thinking that, and I need to manage my thinking, I need to overcome my thinking or cope with my thinking. Can you see how we're just doing more and more and more, and that cloud gets thicker between us and the sun?
You can prioritise your thinking.
I'm sorry.
You can prioritise your thinking.
Can you tell me what you mean by that, Mark?
You take all the
Prioritise your thinking. That was what.
Okay, yeah. If you think all the things, excuse me, I'm a bit quiet sometimes I speak. If you think all the things we've done in the last 6 weeks, they are immense. I mean, I use a simple analogy. I walked into a little shop to get one or two items, and I walked out the whole basket full of my arms.
Yeah.
I sat down and I thought, right, we've got 5 weeks left to go. I've learned all these things, and I wrote down all the bits and pieces we learned, and then I prioritised and said, what is critical for me in the next 5 weeks? What is going to be I can worry about later? What am I doing long term? Yeah. And I've literally gone priority 1, 2, 3, and that is my task for the next 5 weeks.
Did everyone hear that? And that's a really great point. And someone would say, well, how did you do that? And can I copy what you're doing? But this isn't it. What Mark's saying is that basically his wisdom said to him, you don't have to worry about everything. You just have to kind of look at what works for you. Because can you imagine if you had to bring everything that you've learned over the last 6 weeks to the table? I mean, I've got a drawer at home, and I don't know if everyone's got one of these drawers, but it's got batteries and pens and paper, and it's got elastic bands, it's got paper clips, it's just full of junk. And if I try to find something in there, it's just hopeless. But that's what I'm pointing towards, you know. If you brought everything that you've learned and thought, right, I've got everything I need to know, right, let's just put this down and let's start trading, and all I need to do is buy lower than I sell, and, you know, you're just going to, what did we say last week? You know, paralysis by analysis. But what Mark's found is something that kind of works for him. Could he describe it to other people? Would it work for other people? Probably not. But this is what we're saying. It's come from within him. He's kind of thought, well, that kind of is relevant. Not sure about that. Maybe I'll keep it. But he's not bringing so much to the table. And I love the expression that someone once said to me, it's not what you bring to the table that's important. It's what you don't bring to the table. Thank you. This is great, guys. Anyone else? Sorry, it's John, not Jonathan, is it?
Tom.
Tom. Sorry,
Thomas.
Thomas. Thomas, good morning.
I was actually, I prefer Tom, but...
Tom, good morning. Let's just we'll just edit that. Tom, good morning.
Morning, Steve. What I've come to realise is the importance of understanding key levels and the sort of catalysts and why we enter and exit trades. Is that based on technical levels, sort of patterns, fundamentals, or what have you? And sort of I began to understand that and the way the market works. You know, people want to get out because maybe they're humans and they have fear and greed and what have you. And then I started to think, okay, well that applies to us, and proprietary trading is so related to psychology, because it's us as individuals who are making those decisions with our money. So there's a sort of financial attachment there. And what I was thinking as well was one of the key themes throughout our sort of discussions with you, and what you taught us, is this paradigm shift. And this paradigm shift is, you know, it's all from within. And then I started thinking, well, what's the next level above that? And I said, well, surely the next paradigm shift is, well, let's refute that idea that it's from within, and let's trade with the idea that it's everybody else's, every other market participant's psychology that we're playing off of. So simply put, let's say that our strategy is that we're playing off of other people's psychology. So that's step one. Step two is, who's moving the market? And these are the big guys. So hedge funds, pension funds, insurance companies, agricultural firms, etc., etc., etc. Now, how do we begin to understand their psychology? So how do we actually begin to, I don't know, almost develop statistics on their psychology, right? You know, we can understand as individuals, we have fear, we have greed, but that's because it's our money. What about them? Do they, you know, they have targets they need to meet, you know, earnings expectations, you know, they hold positions for a long, long time. So how do we begin to understand their psychology? You know, what levels they have, and how can we play off of that? So that's the kind of thinking that I've been trying to understand myself, and I think you can really help me and us for the greater good, because you have more experience by understanding why those people enter, why they exit. So I'd be very interested in understanding how we can first conquer ourselves, and then go to the next step of trying to understand how we can play off of other people's big institutions, marketing leaders, psychology.
Can everyone relate to that question or that point of view? Yeah? Thanks. Some really great points in there. What I loved was, again, you know, we're coming out, we're seeing this word realisation. It's that realise. It's like, oh, you know, we realise that what you realised, it's everything's coming from within. And what you realised was that what we're kind of learning within this classroom is how the mind works, is how we operate, is, you know, it's greed, stress, worry, happiness, confidence, lack of, over. It's all of these things. It's understanding how we operate. The more we understand how we operate, is what I'm hearing you say is you kind of get an understanding for what other people who don't know this are up against. So you can see where, you know, where traders are getting in and out, and where the fear is, and where you kind of get a feel for it, but it's coming from within you, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
And I love what you said, you know, you kind of, so that's the next level, it's like, okay, so if I'm seeing everything from inside out, but I know that other people are seeing it from outside in. Oh, I can't afford to lose any more, or quick, I'll take a 2-tick profit, and snatching at things. And you can kind of get this feeling of what other people are up against and what you're seeing beyond. Now, with regards to how that works with funds, can you imagine 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, you might have said to me, well, Steve, let's just say that everything works inside out. Okay, I know you're pointing towards that. Let's just say that everything does, and all of the answers are within me. How can I then learn about what other people are doing? Proprietary traders, individual traders. I couldn't have given you the answer, but you found it because it's come from within you. So what am I going to say? You're looking at me for how am I going to give you the answers for what you can do around the psychology of funds. I don't know, but I know that you know.
If I do know, I mean,
but but that's the thing, is you're knowing at the level you're knowing at. As I said 6 weeks ago, you wouldn't have said what you just said about prop traders. You wouldn't have said that.
I think there was...
Can you see what I'm saying there, guys? Can anyone see what I'm saying? Can you... Oh, you need one over. Can you tell me what did you hear there?
The thing is, 6 weeks before myself, I mean, we started writing down in the evening what are the 5 things, negative things you have done today, and what are the 5 positive things you have done today. And for last week we started writing and all. Now I'm realizing, before the 4 or 5 weeks before. I always thought I didn't know the technical bit, but 4 out of 5, this looks like more like sentimental, like fear for giving up all the money what I just made. That's why I don't trade. Once you make a lot of profit, then again once you're on the wrong side, you just hang on the wrong side thinking the market will eventually come and you will go on the profit side. It's always about fear, rather than I was worried that maybe I'm not good enough in technical side.
Wow. Everyone hear that okay? And can you see here again the word, realising? Now that was already inside of you. That was already inside of you. I didn't bring that out, no one brought that out, it was already within you.
How do you work on that?
How what?
Because yesterday the same mistake, today also same. I carry on doing the same mistake again and again, each day.
The same mistake being?
Like hanging on to my loss for a longer time,
Mm-hmm.
cutting my profit short.
Okay, can I ask you one question? How sure are you that you always cut a loss too quick? How sure are you that you always run a loss too long?
Pretty much all the time. Like the thing is, I always think that if market comes to this price, I should go out. That means I'm wrong. But once it crosses, I'm still hanging to it, hanging to the price, thinking maybe let me give it 4 or 5 ticks more chance. Let's see what happens. And it ends up going like 15, 20 ticks.
Mm-hmm. So this is where, again, the one word that I've always said is I want you to get interested. I want you to get interested. Isn't it interesting? Did you have a plan to have a stop in place?
Yeah.
Okay. So you had a plan with the stop in place and you didn't execute. Okay. So why would that be?
Maybe you just need to put hard stops in instead of manually executing.
Okay,
Maybe
so
it's
all-
strong enough to manually execute that. Take it off.
You take it out. But what is it that makes you take it out?
I think fear of losing more money.
Okay, so it's fear. And what is fear?
It comes from inside of us.
It's insecure thinking. That's all it is. And the thing is I'm just saying that if you and I work together every day for the next 5 years, you're still going to do it. It's still going to happen, but it's just going to happen less because you start to see the patterns that you're doing. You start to see how your thinking is playing a role in this. That's all it is. You start to understand the illusory nature of, what we said about the ego? The ego saying, well, you can't get out now. You can't afford to lose this. But your wisdom's probably saying, you need to get out. Can you see the difference? Can people see the difference? The ego doesn't want you to succeed. It doesn't want you to be happy. It doesn't want you to be the great trader that you can be. It doesn't want that. Because as soon as you are, it's redundant. So what we've got is we've got this state of mind thing that's going on that we spoke about before, and there's something behind that you will know the difference in the feeling of when you're not sticking to your plan. Yeah? Can people understand that? Can people recognise the feeling of when you're not sticking to your plan? Is that comfortable or uncomfortable? Yeah.
Depends on how robust you are.
And that's because the feeling is always going to be reflecting the thinking. The answers, the knowledge that you want is in the feeling. Do you remember when I said to you this? I'm sure we've all driven. And when that petrol light comes on, the petrol light doesn't come on to annoy you, I'll say. The petrol light comes on to say, look, you can carry on driving. I'm just letting you know you might want to get some petrol. It's there to help you. It's not there to annoy you. It's the same as these feelings. Their feelings there is to give you knowledge. The knowledge is in the feeling. I used to think that when I was stressed, angry, frustrated, annoyed, that feeling was something I wanted to get rid of. I didn't think that there was learning and knowledge in the feeling. Can you imagine if I knew that? Wow, this feeling is telling me that my thinking is out to lunch. If they're correlated and I'm having this horrendous feeling, this upset feeling, what does that tell me? It tells me that my thinking is clearly not that clear. Does this make sense, guys? This is what we're pointing to fundamentally over all of this. There's that power and the knowledge in the feeling. But we get this feeling and we don't want it. We want to get away from it. I'm saying, well, what would happen if there was knowledge and learning in that feeling that we're overlooking?
Understand it, wouldn't you?
You'd understand it. You'd be like, oh, wow, I'm feeling really stressed out. It's got to be coming from, I think. Can you see? And all of a sudden we have a realization again. Bang, bang. Does it happen to me all the time? No, because sometimes when I get that, I want to blame that, and change that, and that. But just more often than not, you kind of catch it and you're like, wow, I'm getting these feelings. My thinking's involved in here somewhere. And it's your thinking that's leading you astray. I never realised that. I never knew that. You know, that was so big for me. That there's knowledge, there's information in the feeling. And you think about the times when you've traded in the zone, or when the times when you've felt most free, nothing to do with trading sometimes, when you felt the most relaxed, contented. What's been going on? The feeling's been completely neutral. And the thinking has been that clear as well. So all of a sudden we start, you know, being grateful. We start seeing more. We're like, I didn't see that house before. We start seeing more. But when our mind is busy, we don't even see the house. You know, we don't even see things because our mind is so distracted and polluted. Bonnie, you okay?
Yeah. I'm always like that. I'm listening.
That's okay. No, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I was just seeing if you was okay.
I'm listening. I know.
I do that. I do that at classes, and sometimes you hear a lot more because your mind kind of quietens down. But it's another great question, another great point. Is this kind of is this getting clearer with people? Has anyone got any questions around that question?
Got a statement?
Well, Mark, I'd love to hear your statement, please.
To me, it's you're putting over a lesson now. I've done a lot of instructing, and the one thing you get is when somebody asks you a question, is if you don't know your topic, you then fumble on what you want to do. So your fear comes up, oh, how do I answer this? I don't know how to answer this. So we tend to then, oh, I'll get back to you on that one. We don't get back to the person. That's a good question, I'll get back to you on that, and they don't. From Atanu's viewpoint, he's looking, in my opinion, wrongly or rightly, he's looking at a ladder going, I need to go there, I need to come out there. But does he have a plan of what levels he's trading at, where he's going to, where that market should be going? Or is it a case of, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it should go there, but does he know it's going to go there? And that's sort of my viewpoint. So if you know your topic, you don't have the fear. You go in with confidence.
Well, I kind of believe that, and sometimes that even the best traders have fear. So it's not against how long you've been doing it or whether you've had a plan. It's always to do with what's behind it. And is there fear or is there love? So when we, you know, that's the question. Is there fear or is there love? Because there's only one or the other. There's only one or the other. And how will you know the difference? How will you know the difference? How do you know the difference? How do you know the difference? I've just been talking about it for 5 minutes. It's a feeling. You know, I'm not, this is so, we're keeping this as simple as we can. It's the simplicity of this. Our mind wants to complicate it because we think that we know it, but we're saying the simplicities in this. Fear or love? There's not one, it's the other, I'm telling you.
Would it be, say for me, I can identify about what Atanu is saying, and I have been thinking about it. Would it be because I am used to operate in a certain area, and now I'm operating in a expanded area. And in the little area that I operate, I am more familiar with it. And in the larger area that I am now trying to operate, I'm not so familiar with it. And with unfamiliarity, it brings uncertainty. And the uncertainty, because I am still trying to figure out how to familiarize, or how to say maybe make it so familiar so that I can, it's under my control. So if I can familiar with it and I know what's happening, I think I am in better control. Then I have less fear.
Yeah.
Then I have more certainty.
Okay, so am I right in what I'm hearing, please, Bonnie? I'm hearing that you want to get away from fear and you want to get to certainty.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as we trade,
And so what is going to get you away from fear and what's going to get you towards certainty?
I think if we operate in a market where there are so many external factors that is beyond our control.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to be certain, we cannot be certain of the external factors.
Mm-hmm.
What it can be certain is, as John and Dan has always been pointing out, we can only be certain of the procedure that we are executing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I am in the process of trying to be familiar with that procedure.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things like the market move up, move down, whatever.
Yeah.
It's beyond my control.
Sure.
But if my procedure, what John and Dan and various people is saying is they cannot be, they are not right, they don't have the Holy Grail. But some of the trades they are doing, if their intake, if their gains is more than their losses,
Yeah.
then in a year they are making money.
Sure.
Yeah, so I guess to answer your question is how can I be certain is I won't be certain about the external factors.
Right.
All I can be certain is what they are showing me to do so that I can have a better plan so that when I'm certain of that and trying to link my mind to that instead of being affected by things beyond my control.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is control the controllables.
Yeah.
Control the controllables. Fantastic. But what are you looking for certainty in? I'm still trying to clarify that.
I guess as human being,
Yeah.
or as a person, we have our ego. And ego is to be able to tap into the uncertainty, maybe take a bit of it so that put it under my control. Maybe, I think that is ego. Yeah.
Okay, so have you just realised something there? Yeah? Can you say again that new thought? It's just so natural. I don't know what the new thought was. I'm interested, but if it makes sense to you, that's good enough. What have you just realised? What's just come to your mind?
Trying to do impossible.
What do you mean trying to do impossible?
I mean, things that are beyond my control, like how the market flip.
Yeah.
Is beyond my control. So if I'm trying to get a bit of it, it's doing something that I won't be able to do.
Okay. So
why should I be worried about it?
Can you see the power of insight? You know, it's just we're kind of trying to understand what Bonnie's here saying, but that came from within her. She's just seen something new. Can you see that? That's the most natural. That's what I'm saying about success is built into the design. I wasn't even talking about that. I didn't even say anything. It came from within her. It's built in. That was already inside of her. So does that change the way you were looking at fear, Bonnie?
I think put it when the area that that I'm an expanded zone, when I'm familiar with that and I feel that I can do all this.
Mm-hmm. You just flick that back on again.
Do all this meaning I can master all this.
Mm-hmm.
Master means I can do it very quickly, very familiar with it, and so that I feel then I'm more sure of it. And when I'm more sure of it, then I would. And another thing I would need to do is to detach myself from, or change the. When I'm more sure of it, then I attach that or that familiar, that mastery, the feeling of success of that. Use that as my success gauge instead of use the uncertainty result to gauge, if you see what I mean.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
But what's important is it seems as though you did. Can you see that again? Can you just see that as poetry in motion just there? It was coming out of her. I wasn't even saying anything. I wasn't none of this had been anything that we'd spoken about. But again, it was just that when our minds quieten down, we touch this space where the learning is beyond words. So, anything else, guys? Anything else?
Are there any techniques where you know, like, so for example, this morning we were trading the DAX, and it got up quite a bit, and I could feel myself, obviously try and go with the flow, but I could feel myself, I think there's a resistance over there, I could feel myself selling it, and then I sold it, and then it just kept going, like, fucking, this is a bad idea. my head is just like, what am I doing? And then before I know it, I've ended up averaging, I'm like, fuck's sake, why have I done this? Is there any like techniques you can think, I don't know, just rather than, because it ended up going up and then it did end up coming back down again, but I just caused all that unnecessary, back in my head was saying that it could go here, but I just sort of stuck with it.
Okay.
Are there any techniques you can do to, is it
So
just a case of getting out of it and just having to give yourself a few minutes?
Well, let's just say that there's the glitter ball, okay, and we know that all of us perform at a higher level, regardless of what you're doing, trading or mowing the lawn, when we've got a clearer mind. Yeah? We can all see that, that makes sense. And what I'm pointing to is that clarity is the default setting of humanity. That's the way your mind is designed, the same as the ball. It's the default setting. So, for us to trade at a higher level, we know we trade at a higher level when our mind is like this, and we know we trade at a poorer level when our mind is like this. So if I was to give you techniques, what would I be doing to the ball?
Shaking. You can give us a thought.
Exactly. Can you see? So I want to point you in a direction that clarity is the best way for your elevated performance. But I want you to think about something to get you to clarity. It'd be like me putting a log on the fire for me to want the fire to go out. It's never going to happen. I want me to get back in the shower to dry off. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's nothing against you, Miles, because that was what I was after.
To get the clarity though, is that just a case of getting out of position?
No. Well, again, you're looking at me for the answer.
Yeah.
Where's the answer lie?
Myself.
Absolutely. Now, this is what I'm saying, is that this is such a beautiful point. Guys, this is so relevant. I wanted to get to clarity because I knew of the implications of me being at, let's say, a place called clarity. I knew I would perform higher. I knew that my stress levels would be through the floor. I knew that I was tapping into this infinite potential of mind. I knew that I was going to have a richer experience. I knew that I was going to be less attached to P&L and trades. I knew that. So all I wanted to do was to get there. Guys, I'm saying to you one thing. Let me take that back. What am I saying to you? That you are already there. The default setting is clarity. The reasons that we do not experience it more often is because we think. you see the simplicity?
Is it the first step is realising when?
The first point is realising that I am already there. The sun is already in the sky. But for the clouds, we would all be experiencing the sun. That's it. Simple. No, loads of other variables on that. It's just that simple. And if we think of the sun as being our well-being, our potential, our confidence, love, happiness, content, all of these wonderful things, the reason we don't experience it more often is for one reason only, that the cloud is in the way of the sun. As soon as the cloud happens, has the sun got to do something? No, the sun just shines through. It's just how the system works. As soon as our mind calms down, Bonnie just did it. Jake did it. As soon as our mind calms down, we start to come up with ideas. You don't have to try to come up with ideas. The sun doesn't have to try and shine. As soon as the cloud clears, it's going to, because it's in the design. And that's one of the misunderstandings, that we need to get to clarity. We all know the benefits of trading from clarity, trading from a clear mind, trading from, trading in the zone. But in our innocence, we're trying to get there. That's what I'm saying, you're already there. That's what I'm saying about the 100 metres. They're all 8 of them or 6 of them, or how many in the 100 metres final. They're all sprinting to go to win the gold medal. I'm saying they've already got the gold medal. If you realise that everything you are looking for is built into you, it's already in there. That means that you're free to trade and be the best you can be without the attachment, without the I'll be happy when I succeed, or I'll be content when I make X amount of money. What I'm saying is that's all a feeling, and the feeling is already built inside of you. Does anyone see anything from that or understand what I'm pointing to there?
I had the same problem like mine yesterday, and I kept on selling it in boom. Price going up, kept on selling again, go up, selling, basically blow up. But today I came here thinking I won't do anything like that. I will let my trade run, and it went all the way up. I didn't know when to stop. Came all the way pretty much down again. Then I stopped. So I don't know where to find the balance.
It's experience.
Well, it seems that it's experience, but again, there's people who have traded for a month who are better traders than people who have traded for 5 years.
So there's no hope?
I'd say the opposite. I'd say the opposite if you just hear what I said. Some people have been trading for a month who are better than some traders have been trading for 5 years. Because it's not experience, guys, and this is what people say, oh, you get less stress when you're older, or you get... No, it's not. It's nothing to do with age. It's all to do with state of mind. That's it. It's all to do with state of mind. Everything is state of mind. So, trading will always look different, even though trading is exactly the same. Trading doesn't change, but trading will look different according to your state of mind in the moment.
Are there any...
Bear with me 1 second, Miles. I will come to you.
No.
And when we're in a low state of mind, how will we know we're in a low state of mind? How do you know when you're in a low state of mind?
That's what I was going to ask.
Cool.
We'll realise it eventually.
Yeah, but how do we know? How would you know?
It's a feeling.
5 points. It's a feeling, perfect. But what would you say that you knew about the feeling that told you you was in a low state of mind?
Negative feelings.
Tell me more negative feelings.
Low energy.
Low energy, cool.
Negative self-talk.
Sorry.
Negative self-talk.
Yeah. But how would you know the feelings? That's kind of thoughts more. But how would you recognise the feelings?
Because you've been dealing with them for the last...
Anxiety. So you'd feel anxious. Yeah. How else? What other feelings would you kind of associate with a low state of mind?
Frustration.
Anger. Impulsiveness.
I think fear, maybe?
Fear. Doubt. Can you see? Those feelings are there to help you. So what are those feelings telling you? What are those feelings telling you?
Change the way you think.
You're in a low state of mind. You're in a low state of mind. So what happens when you're in a low state of mind? You kind of go, oh wow, all right. I don't really need to be, you know, going at it hammer and tong, or it's that awareness. It's an awareness to go, well, I'm in a low state of mind. Now, how does the system work? Well, the system works that if I start giving more attention to this low state of mind, guess what? I'm going to stay there longer, and it's going to get worse. If I don't give so much attention to this low state of mind and this insecure thinking that I have, what's going to happen? It's in the design. It's just going to clear. You don't have to do anything to clear it. It's just in the design. And that's what I'm saying. The information is in the feeling. So what feelings do you have when you're in a high state of mind? Yeah, I can do this. A knowing, a deeper knowing. Confident. You know, you're just more neutral. You can see things clearer. You're more present. You're in the zone. You're in the moment. You know, all of these things. Problems don't really seem there. All you can see is sort of solutions, and you know. Now this could be the same thing, the same challenge. It could be trading. It could be a stop loss. It could be whatever it might be. But it's going to look completely different to your state of mind in the moment. Jake.
Do you think it's important to find a balance between the positive and the negative feelings?
Well, that's a really good point, and I'm not saying they're positive or negative. It seems as though they're positive or negative. So we would then, I'm just saying that it's not a case of changing your feelings or getting different feelings, it's understanding your feelings.
Yeah, it was going back to your point of you're in a poor state of mind when you're feeling fear and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you're in a good state of mind, you're feeling confident and things like that. You start taking almost rash decisions.
Do you think you would do from a clear nut? I don't agree with that.
If I'm feeling a bit overconfident, I might.
Yeah, but that's overconfident is also a negative. It's not negative. It's a low state of mind.
Yeah.
It's ego based. I'm better than everyone else here. I can do this. You know, that's the ego. Go on.
Yeah,
you should trade double. Average into that bad trade. Go on. That's what it is. Or you know, that's the ego playing out again. I'm just saying that. I need to. Okay. Was I just a little bit eager then? Was I just a bit keen to get on that board? Quick, panic. Yes.
Yeah, I was listening to the conversation, and even before him, I wanted to say something that I think those feelings, those are the clouds that you're talking about, that we don't see the sun. Probably you're not going to agree with me, but I'm going to show you my point.
Yeah.
Let's take, for example, someone off the street and put it in front of the computer and said, okay, trade today. What's the probability he's going to make money? Somebody answer.
50-50.
I don't know.
I think less.
Natural gas.
No, he's just going to push buttons and he's probably going to lose. He's just probably going to do like most of us. Do we have 50-50?
Hold on, guys. Let's just try and understand. Let's bear with the point because it's all relevant.
So he's going to push buttons and most probably he's going to lose. He's going to try to win, but he's going to lose. We're going to tell him, you must make money. So he's going to lose. My point is this. Why is he going to lose? Because when he's going to make 3 ticks, he's going to bank the money. When he's going offside, he's going to think, okay, it's coming back, right? Like Atanu said and like Miles said before.
But can I just say one thing? How do you know that?
How do you know? Yeah. There could be beginners like.
You know, this is what a trader's doing who's been taught how to trade.
I know if he makes some money, he's going to bank it. No, but because it's a human
But you don't know that.
He's not going to.
You don't know that.
You don't
know that.
Not true.
So if it's not true, why not everybody makes money?
Well, no, but
each personality is different. There are people that would see 3 and they say like, no, I wait for 20, and then they wait for 20. And if they were like pushed in the right time, the market's.
And those are the few millionaires. Those are the people.
No, but guys, bear with me 1 second. Thank you. What I'm saying is that, you know, what we spoke about last week when we looked at the photograph and we all came up with something different, but we believed what we thought, because that's how the system is designed to work. You get thoughts and it's going to give you a whole of life experience. If I put Sixth Sense in the video or DVD player, it's not going to play Waterworld, where these films are coming from, is it? Because it's not in there. It's going to play what he's put in there. That's just how the design is. So we're designed to believe our thinking, and this is the point, is we've got to understand the illusory nature of our thinking. Now, I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong. I'm just saying that you've had a thought and you think it's real. We've got no evidence to support it, but the evidence, we will find evidence. Well, everyone must be millionaires, and can you see that's what we do? That's how the system works. Now, I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong. I just want you to go, isn't that interesting? Do you remember last time Tom had that thought about everyone in North America was into this? That seemed real to him. Was it real? No evidence.
Most definitely it's real.
Sorry, no, Tom's was the one exception. No, but can you see how we believe that's real? And how we believe what we saw in the photo was real? It's not, it's a trick of the mind. All I wanted to point to, guys, is some certain truths. Is some certain truths that we are always and only ever we're only ever feeling our thinking in the moment. Okay? That's a truth. Again, I don't want you to believe me, I want you to be open to it, but that's a truth. And that is why sometimes you can come in and be excited about trading, and then you could come in and go and have a coffee and come back and be nervous about trading. Trading hasn't changed, but we are feeling our thinking. So the nervousness that we feel has become because we've had a change of thought. Okay? The second thing that we've been talking about throughout these weeks is the power of thought. So when we think something, we don't expect, well, hold on a minute, it's just my thinking, it might not be right. But that was proved last week when we looked at the photo and everyone looked at the same thing and saw something different. Everyone's story about what had happened and what was going to happen, it was all different. But we believed it, and that was the power of thought. We have been given this most extraordinary gift, the most powerful thing in the world, yet there's been no manual to go with it. That's why we get caught up in our thinking. That's why we get lost. That's why we don't do as well, whether it be trading or in life, because we don't understand how the mind works. I'm here just to show you guys a glimpse of how the mind works. Mind, life works from the inside out. I haven't got the answers for you because that would be outside in. Sorry. I haven't got the answers for you because that would be my opinion on what you should or shouldn't do. I'm showing you how the mind works, so the more you understand it, the more you'll see how the answers are already within you. Same as we've kind of seen a few times this morning. I haven't got the answers. But I know that you have the answers within you.
No, but that's the dissatisfying thing about it.
I know. It was for me, Tom.
No, I'm saying I understand the fact that the answer is that we've got the answer within us.
Yeah.
The dissatisfying thing is, at what stage do we know that those answers within us are right or wrong?
Well, great question. So.
And you know, the obvious answer is, well, why do they need to be right or wrong?
Well, let's just talk about, let me ask you, what is one of the things that we've been talking a lot about this morning that gives us a heads up on whether things are going to, you know, are right or not?
Well, they're right if they're coming from within, from what I understand.
Well, no. How do we know when something's right and how do we know when something's not? How do we know when it's our personal insecure thinking or it's our impersonal universal thinking? How do we know? What we've been talking about this morning. It's in the feeling. I'm pointing to something that you've been doing all your life. You know, all of you have examples of when you've known something even though you didn't know, but you just knew.
So a key statement is, we know when our thinking is right or wrong based on feeling.
Well, I'm saying that feeling's a great yardstick. It's really there to help you. And the more that we can look at that, rather than get freaked out by our feelings, we're there to sort of, they're there to work with us. As I said, the petrol light, I'm not going to get annoyed with it. Sometimes I look at it and think, I've only just put petrol in, what's going on with the petrol? But the petrol light doesn't care. It's just saying, look, you can do what you want. The feelings are saying, look, you can do what you want. I'm just pointing out to where your thinking is in this moment. Can people see that? Can people see that? Please tell me if that's not clear. Tom, is that clear for you?
It's clear, yeah. It's one argument. I mean, it's one argument.
Well, what's the argument, Tom?
Well, I mean, you know, rational thought, irrational thought.
What?
I mean, it's, you know, it's the religion, science. You know, it's the whole.
Yeah, but what's what I'm always pointing to? What am I pointing to?
Is that, you know, you could say like the scientific method in itself, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That's one.
Can you see how we complicate things? And I'm talking about simplicity. I'm talking about just take time, reflect, percolate over times in your life. Not now, but you know, when you get a chance. Times in your life when you've known something. And how did you know that? Because of the feeling. You just knew. How did I know that I went from liking my wife to loving her? I didn't tick boxes. I just knew. There was a knowing in there. Now, if all of a sudden, you know, we get this worry, fear, anxiety, where is that coming from? It's thought created. I'm saying that it's all within us. All of the answers. Everything we're looking for.
I'm just fearful that or sad in a way that could lead us to stop questioning our own thoughts on what is truly right and wrong. Because
well, how else are we going to know? I mean, what's the other option apart from what I'm saying? What's option 2?
Option 2 is to seek information on how we know, I guess, as opposed to the feeling. So, you know, let's take, for example, the case where...
how will you know other than a feeling? How will you know other than a feeling? How have you ever known anything other than a feeling?
Based on what other people have said about that feeling. So let's take, for example, let's say I'm a poor old man living with a nasty lady, and that nasty lady is constantly beating him, right? A poor man, right? What a poor man. We're all going to feel sympathetic to him. And, you know, and then he could say, well, he's happy because he loves his wife and, you know, he feels fine. But then society logically dictate that, hey, you know, wake up, you're being abused by your wife. She obviously doesn't love you. I mean, do you see where I'm sort of starting to go to? So I'm saying that.
Well, it's a really good question. It's a really good point, because people stay in abusive relationships. We could make it a little bit more.
Exactly.
But why do they stay in their relationships? Out of fear and insecurity. Because that's all I deserve. That's all that's. Now we know that when they have a moment of clarity, they're going to go, I'm not here for that. I'm out of here. That's why people do that, because they have a moment of clarity. All of a sudden they realise, what have I been doing in for the last 5 years? This fella don't love me. He's beaten me. They get a moment of clarity. Was that moment of clarity there? Yeah, but it was overclouded with all of their worry, and I can't leave him, and I don't deserve anyone better. You look into abusive relationships, a lot of it is because people don't think they deserve better. And all of a sudden they have that moment of clarity, and it's clear, and the feeling's just saying, get out.
So the power lies in being able to clearly think and reignite that Sydney Banks moment of clarity. Do you know what I mean? Because I mean, how do
No.
we stop this guy, this poor old man, going on for 20, 30, 40 years. Right?
Yeah. Well, we can't stop it. It has to come from within him.
You're also assuming that your predefined idea of what is bad, i.e. him getting beat, is what is like what he should be feeling. Let's take a less radical example. Let's just say a woman shout to him, but for all you know, he doesn't mind that. It's your personal belief of what you deem as right and wrong.
Can you see that? This is what we're saying
The
again.
whole thing you've derived
We've already
created
created that
this
he's
whole
not
world.
happy and that's wrong. That wouldn't be. I'm just. If I was to see him, he'd say, "Yeah, but I'm happy." I'd say, "Well, great."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying that wisdom's inside of you, and if you ever need to change anything, you do it. I'm not going to say, "Well, you shouldn't be in this relationship." Can you see again? We've got to trust that people see it's within them. Otherwise, we are telling people what they should or shouldn't do according to what we think, and what we think is all illusory.
Maybe he's a masochist and likes to be in a slave position. So we don't know.
Hold on.
We don't know.
Let's just get away from. Let's just.
Let's not take it to the extreme.
Tom, I've got to love you. I really do. You had your hand up, sir, a while ago. What was your question?
First of all, I want to say about the assumption that people would take quick profits and others would let it run.
What was the question? Have you got a question?
That was my question. I just want.
Okay, no, because I thought we covered that. It was a good point that you said that people we don't know. People can come from the outside. So go on.
The only thing I wanted to finish this is why people lose money is because they start to mix styles. So, for example, if the person whose personality is to take quick profits now changes her style or his style to take bigger swings, then he loses money because it's not his personality.
I think that we spoke about personalities last week. Personalities.
I just want to finish this.
Okay, but personality is an important point because we've spoken about this. And if you think about all of your personalities, I want you to think about all of your strengths and all of your weaknesses. That defines your personality. Would you agree? Would you agree? That's all made up. It's all made up. Your personality isn't who you think you are. That's what I'm pointing to. Your personality will restrict you from being beyond that. Well, I can't do that, and I'm very quick to anger, and I'm only happy at certain times. Can you see how restrictive that is? And it's made up. I'm saying that's what I'm pointing to, that you are infinitely more than you could ever imagine you are. Your personality, or who you think you are, is going to restrict you. That's what it's done all my life. I can't do that. I'm not good enough to do that. I could do that if that happened. It was restricting me.
We did an exercise in uni as well, some psychological sort of units, and one of them was about people's self-realization and their self-projection of themselves and how far off it is. Yeah. And basically everyone was told to go and find different people in their lives, close people, like acquaintances, and just ask for their, like, I think it was to get 5 sort of statements about what their personality was like. And then you had to, and before you did it, you had to write your own ones, and then it showed how off everybody's self-realization is.
So who we think we are, it's all made up.
It's just,
and who I think you are, it's all made up. I've got no idea, but you know what I do? I do it without realising I'm doing it. The only thing is I've got some sort of glimpse into how the mind works that I can catch myself from judging who I think you are. And can you see how we do that with the market? And how we do it with trading, and how we do it with around ourselves, and I can't do this, or I'm not good enough to do this, or I wish I was as good as him. And we start having all of this insecure thinking. Now it's so subtle that we don't even see it as thought. You are a complete blank canvas. The only thing that you are is who you think you are. It's just extraordinary. The scope of what we're talking about, guys, is infinite. But I just want to point out more, and hopefully you're starting to get a glimpse of this week by week, is the role of thoughts. Is the role of thought. It's this extraordinary, phenomenal gift But it sends us off, you know, it sends us off the pathway. Not because it's good or bad, it's because we don't understand it. Same as the shadows. You can't get away from shadows. Shadows are there for life, but shadows can't hurt you. Once we understand what's creating the shadow, shadows look different. You can't get away from thought. Thought is this most phenomenal gift. We don't need to get away from it. We just need to understand what's creating it. And the more we understand what's creating it, the less freaked out we are by it, and the more we spend, I keep saying this one at the moment, swimming with the tide than against it. That is why you will find people who are in similar situations to you or worse situations to you and do okay. And then you'll find people who are in much better situations than you who do really badly. Can you see the role of thought in all of this? We are completely bound with insecurity and ego and fear. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to help you get rid of that, because I'm not. I'm going to help you to understand it. Whoa, I was just really panicking about that trade because I always thought about the trade that I had yesterday. And then, so you start to come up with, and they're interesting. I started to snatch at that trade because I wanted just to get some money on the table, and now I'm having a go at myself for taking a profit, and they're interesting. You know, I want you to be interested at yourself. I was working with a girl yesterday at a company, nothing to do with trading, and she got so choked because, you know, she could see how hard she was giving herself. She was giving herself such a hard time because of her thinking, I should be doing better. I'm not as far down the line as I thought I'd be. Can you say I'm not as far down the line as I thought I'd be was made up anyway? Who created that? That is the laughter of insight. When someone laughs like that, that is the laughter of insight. They've had a new thought. Love that. Who made up how far you should be? Where'd that come from? Apart from you, and it's an illusion. It's all made up. And so what we do is we then kind of have this slight gap between us and our thinking. And then what do? We start spending more time, without trying to, we spend more time with less on our mind. And the less we've got on our mind, the better we do. Has anyone got any other questions or thoughts or anything that's come to their mind or anything they don't agree with or can't see, you know? This isn't about anything from anyone.
This morning I was quite annoyed already because I entered the office late and it changed the way I traded, and even though I knew what my plan should be and how to extract, I still didn't do it, and I then got angry at myself for that and angry at how that
Can you see that?
not improving my...
Sorry, it's because of my colour.
That's right, George. That's a great point. Can everyone see that? How simple that is. You know, I could be driving, I could be on the train home, you know, looking forward to getting home and seeing my wife, and something could happen, or I could have a thought, and all of a sudden my whole mood changes. My whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Vista. My whole vista changes. Everything I see changes. Not because anything's changed apart from my state of mind.
But I think Scott said, I found that when if you rush yourself, your brain starts rushing, and then you come into the markets and you're rushing to do things instead of being much calmer.
Can we all relate to that?
Yeah.
So again, I'm not saying you won't have that. I'm just saying that you'll kind of recognise it. And you'll go, wow, I feel really urgent. And I really feel I've got to make that money back that I've just lost. Whoa. And you kind of catch it. Is that really efficient way of trading? Probably not. I'll just let that